Hey everyone, this is Dahlia helping young professionals to get international careers. And I promised you that today we would talk about one of the questions I am asked the most often, which is how to get a job with the United Nations, how to get one of those international careers with a UN agency, with an international organization that makes an impact on the planet. This is a question that I get so often. It's probably one of the questions I get asked the most often, not just since I've started helping you guys out, but ever since I started my career, basically, ever since I started working with international organizations, especially the UN, one of everyone's dream organizations. Hey, Saravanan, how's it going? I'm answering. You also asked me this question, how to get a job at the UN. So we're going to be talking about that. And first of all, if you are there, give me a wave. Let me know you can actually hear me. And type into the chat like any questions you have about this. So, I mean, number one, is working for the UN something that you have thought about? And is it something you've tried to get? Like, how seriously have you thought about it? I've met people who have said, oh, I'm curious about that. Sounds interesting, you know? So is it something you're just curious about? Is it something, hey, Abu, how's it going? Is it something that you feel like really passionate about, that it's kind of a dream job for you and you just don't know how to get it? Have you actually been actively pursuing a job with the United Nations or with another agency, but you just are getting stuck sending applications into a black hole? What is your situation, and what are your challenges in getting those roles? Give me a little bit of background, how that idea came about. And yeah, so I thought I would come on here, answer questions that you guys have. So let me know, just as you're watching this, what questions come up. And first of all, let's start with why do people want to work for the UN? What is the big deal about it? And I mean, for me, for sure, I mean, I'm with you guys. This was a total dream organization for me. Why? Because whatever work I was gonna do, and I'm thinking back to, you know, when I was still a student, still thinking about what do I want to do when I quote unquote grow up, I knew that I wanted to do something I actually cared about, something where I felt like I could be proud of the work I was doing, something where I felt like, you know, just in so many ways proud, just on my day-to-day, the work I was doing, feeling like it was for a greater purpose, like I wasn't just working for a paycheck, I was working to make an impact. I wanted to be able to feel proud even in terms of my own identity, like just when I talk to someone new, be able to say, yeah, I work for the UN, not in a way that I'm proud of the title or something, but just in a way that I work for an organization that I can get behind, I can believe in. And I think there was also that whole kind of feeling of working at that higher level, right? And obviously working at the grassroots level is very, very important in a lot of ways. And that was something that was important for me as well. And I went out and worked towards getting that grassroots experience, but still with the UN. But it was that idea of working with people from around the world, like sharing that knowledge, having those cultural exchanges, but also having those kind of specialist technical exchanges with people from around the planet, where you're not only engaging with people in that way that like you're coming to their country to help them, but you're working with people directly, like from specialist to specialist. And I think that is one of my favorite things about the UN, that you're not coming in as like it's not exactly like you're coming in as an outsider to help a country in need. It's more like different countries coming together, like specialists from all different nations coming together and sharing that knowledge, if that makes sense. And that's one of my favorite things about it. Oh, hey, Linda, nice to see you. Let me know if you have some questions and what you're up to these days. So let's talk about, let me know if you have questions as we go through this, but let's talk about the major challenges that people encounter when it comes to getting these positions. The first thing is that, I'm trying to think about how to say this. The first thing is that a lot of us feel like we are made for the UN. We feel like that is our dream and we're just everything about us is, UN. And I talk to so many people who say, well, I speak 5 languages and my parents are from different countries and I'm very international and I have a great cultural background and I even did international exchanges when I was in university and I love traveling. I am the perfect UN candidate. And those are all great things. And I'm sure that's a great background that would help you out in that international environment. However, a lot of people do feel that way. A lot of people feel like they're going to be perfect in that UN environment. They're going to thrive and they really should be considered because they'll be just perfect for those positions. And what you need to keep in mind is that a lot of people, I'm just being realistic here. I'm not trying to crush anyone's dream. I just want to really keep things real and give you guys practical ways to get to your dreams, right? We want to dream big, but we also want to be practical and realistic about actually achieving it so we don't just keep dreaming and never actually attaining those dreams. So all around the world, the United Nations is one of those dream organizations. It's not just a dream organization for you wherever you're living. I have been to quite a few different countries and everywhere from Canada, where I'm from, to Mexico, to Bangladesh. People know the UN and people want to work there. And right now, by the way, I'm not talking about, I know I had a comment that I don't believe in the UN, I don't want to go work there. That's fine. I'm not telling anyone they must work for the UN. I'm just talking to those of you who do see it as a place they'd like to work or who want to work for similar types of places. So you guys know who you are. If that's not you, that's cool as well. I'm not trying to tell anyone that you must work for the UN. I'm just talking to those of you who have this question because I get it a lot. People saying, hey, how can I do that? That sounds really interesting. Sounds like somewhere I would want to make my impact, right? So I wanted to share that with you. So just recognize that around the world, we have, I mean, I don't know the numbers, but literally millions of people would love to work for the UN all across the world. So you can imagine the competition, although I know a lot of you right now are thinking, yeah, but I have all the degrees and I have great experience and, I'm going to be competitive. Oh, we have a question. What skills do we need to have to be a candidate? Okay, good question. So I'm gonna answer that. That's a question I get a lot. What skills do I have just to be able to be a candidate? So when I get this question, and this is always a bit of a dilemma for me to answer because people will ask me, hey, what do I think I would like to work for the UN. Sounds like a nice job. What do you think I should do? And I got this question recently and it was really tough for me to answer because, these days everyone wants a little checklist. Everyone wants these listicles, right? People don't want to read anymore. People don't want to invest time in things anymore or too much energy. Everyone wants like 3 quick tips and your life is fixed kind of solutions. And when you want to go for positions like this, it's not going to be a quick fix. Like there's no magic pill. There's no, people will say things like, oh, obviously you just have to know someone. That's all, just know someone. If you don't know someone, well, you're not getting in. Or you need to have a Harvard degree. Well, if you can afford a Harvard degree, then you're in. But if you can't, well, no chances. And a lot of people kind of block themselves like that. They decide, I don't know how they decide this, but they decide, oh, hey, Laurence, or Laurence, sorry, I know another Laurence, and I know that you're Laurence. Hi, Smitri. Yeah, so a lot of people will block themselves. I think it's because this happens not just with positions like the UN, and this will happen with any kind of a dream where people will go, I don't know how to get there, so I'll just decide that this is the reason I can't get there so that I can not have to feel bad that I didn't make it, as opposed to just admitting to themselves, hey, that's what I want, how can I make it happen? So, it's not about the Harvard degree, it's not about the lack of funds or even the lack of connections. I mean, I know I've had people ask me before, so I remember I was in kind of a UN hallway and some colleague asked me once, I guess because, I look, especially at that time, now it's getting a bit better, but especially at that time, I remember people would see me and they would see me as being very young. They probably thought I was an intern. And I know I had someone ask me, so what do your parents do? Almost thinking that my parents must be diplomats or must have some special connections. And I was just like, nothing special, nothing at all to do with the UN. And a lot of people still have this idea that you need to be privileged. You need to have special connections. You need a Harvard degree or an Oxford degree or a big name on your CV. And a lot of people think you need to speak a bunch of languages. Like I've talked to people who are going, well, I am studying very hard. I am learning French, or I am learning Spanish, or I am learning Chinese. And it's going to be tough, but every day I'm learning a little bit more. And one of these days I will finally have a working level of proficiency. And hopefully then I can get a job at the UN. And guys, I love languages. You guys, for those of you who know me, you know that I am a crazy language person. I don't feel I speak nearly enough languages. I speak 4.5, which a lot of people think is really good. I think it's not really that much. Like most of those languages are somewhat related. And then I'm trying to learn Russian right now, which is my next big challenge. And I wish I spoke more, but I learn these languages because I love them and I feel like they enrich my life and make it more exciting. And of course it can be useful professionally, but I'm not learning those languages so that I can get a job. Like those languages are not the entrance doorway to jobs, and they are certainly not the most efficient way to get a job. I mean, learning those languages took so much time and effort. I loved it. And I did it because I loved it, but that is definitely not the most direct route to land a job. And of course, you have people who speak probably 10 languages and they still can't get positions at the UN. So, you know, it's not the languages, it's not the degree, it's not even, you know, you were asking me about the skills that you need to be a candidate. It's not even your skills. And I'm not saying that people who work at the UN are not skilled. No, you need to be a skilled professional, obviously. And there are some extremely skilled professionals who are working there. I mean, I have had the most amazing colleagues and worked, you know, I've had the privilege to work alongside very highly skilled, very inspirational people. In fact, that's one of my favorite things about working for the UN is the people. I mean, they're international. They're just, they have that mission where they want to help the world. And even though they know things are not perfect and we're dealing with really big challenges and there's lots of stuff that we need to fix and things are not all rainbows at all, and you know, there's tons of issues, they're, at the end of the day, everyone is there because they want to make the world a better place. And that is what I love about it. So, about the skill set. So I know that when people ask me this question, they want to have like a list of things. They want a recipe. They want a quick fix. They want to know if I do A, B, C, and okay, maybe D, then I get in. And it's not like that. Like, it's not like you need a certain mark where you do an exam and you get a mark. It's not like school. It's not like you do a test and you pass and you get in, right? And this, by the way, you guys, for those of you who are not necessarily going for a UN position, this is the same scenario for a lot of jobs. Everyone wants to know the recipe. Everyone wants to know A, B, C, D, and then I'm in, and that's it. And unfortunately, in society, we're taught that the recipe is go get the best marks you possibly can so that you, when you're in high school, so that you can get into the best university you possibly can. And, you know, so go to the best and most expensive university possible. And then when you have that big name on your CV and you have your undergrad and you have your master's and maybe even a PhD, then you're going to be qualified for those top positions. And if you really want to be qualified for those top positions, maybe learn some languages if it's going to be an international job, right? That's what we're taught. That's like the recipe that everyone thinks is going to work. And that's why so many people are left unemployed after graduation and then stuck having to settle for something which they wouldn't even, sadly to say, they didn't even need that expensive degree in the first place to get to where they go. And they end up in some job that is not their dream, that they didn't even need their degree for. And it's just a sad place to be. Hey, Chris, nice to see you. It's been ages. Okay, so let's discuss, Chris, just to fill you in. So a lot of people are asking me, how can I get a job at the UN? And I'm seeing a lot of people just asking the wrong questions and doing the wrong things. So these are the myths that we're busting right now so people can get more practical ways to actually make that happen as opposed to having it as a dream. So yes, you guys want to move away from looking for quick fixes and for looking for finding one-size-fits-all solutions. So one question I get asked quite often is, how did you get into the UN? As though I'm going to tell you I did X thing, and you can repeat the same thing, and then you'll be in 2. And here's the secret on a silver plate, and that's it. Maggie, nice to see you. Maggie's in our program working right now on getting some amazing positions, and she's incredible. So happy to have you here, Maggie. Let me know if you have questions as well. So you guys want to beware of these kind of quick fixes, this kind of, oh, just do this or just do that. You're going to have people who discourage you, who say, oh, well, I knew somebody, or, oh, well, I'm just so amazing and so special. Good luck to you. But you're just, you'll never be as amazing as I am. So it just won't cut it, right? Beware of those people as well, because you will meet them. Here's my cat. He works for the UN too, sometimes. Yeah, so you want to be aware of all these kinds of things, and you guys want to be carving out your own path. That's the most important thing. Recognize that there isn't just one path. Life, even though we've been taught this in school, life isn't a straightforward path of A plus B equals C kind of thing. It's going to be different for everyone, but of course there are a few really key things that you need to have in place so that your path can get aligned, and so that that path can go forward. Like, there are certain key things that everyone is going to need, and these are the things that I'm always going on and on about with you guys. So number 1 is you need to be known as a specialist. Yes, and so that's where, when we're talking about what skills you need, you don't want to be one of those people who says, I'm really international and I love world peace. And I know that sounds a bit silly when I say it like that, but a lot of young professionals, that is how they sell themselves. I'm a hard worker, I'm motivated, I want world peace, I want to help the planet, and I have, maybe I have a mixed background, my parents are from different countries, I speak lots of languages. Well, those are all great things, guys, and that's me as well. I love cultures, I love languages, but I don't want you to think that because you don't speak a ton of languages, or because your parents are from the same city and so are their parents and their grandparents and they're all from the same location, I don't want you to think that you can't go anywhere because of that, because that's not the case. The key is that you're known as a specialist, and if you're trying to get into an international organization, like I was saying before, people who work for those international organizations, one of the great things about working there is how international people are and the experiences people have. Like, their background is incredible. Like, a lot of people think, I have this amazing background and I've been to all these places. I feel like I've barely been anywhere compared to a lot of my colleagues. And that's what I love about being there. They really push me to explore more, learn more, have more adventures and stories and experiences and specializations of my own, like from that influence of other people. So, I don't want to be working in a place where I feel like I'm more experienced than others, or I have more stories than others. I want to be in a place where others are inspiring me, and where I feel like, wow, I have so much more to learn, right? That is how you really grow. And that's how you live a much, much richer life compared to you never want to be like the biggest fish in the sea kind of thing. So the point is that you want to be a specialist, because if you are trying to get yourself in, and your way of explaining why you should work there, or your way of branding yourself, or how you're coming across is just that you think you're international, they're not going to be impressed, because they'll say, well, we're all international. And they're probably way more international even than you are, no matter how many places you've been to. And when you're thinking international, saying like, oh, I like to go to Thailand every year on vacation, and I like to travel around, is not the same thing as saying I have worked in 5 different countries. Like, work experience is pretty different than vacationing experience or family trips kind of thing. So you want to realize that they're going to be probably a lot more international, especially specialist international, than you are, and that is most likely not going to be a selling point. That's just the basic level that they expect you're someone who's international, because of course you are. Why else would you want to work there? You want to focus on being a specialist. And I know many of you, especially when you're still starting out, maybe you don't have a lot of work experience yet, or you've just graduated, you can feel like, well, I don't have a specialization because I haven't started work yet. And that might be, but you can find your specialization even before you have years and years of experience, because your years of experience are going to be built in that specialization. What you don't want to do is wait for your specialization to hit you. And I think a lot of people think that it goes this way, where you just go out there, find a job, and then, you know, build your experience. I'm sure you've heard these things before. You go out there, you get a job, you build your experience, and then one day when you have, everyone has a different number. They say, when I have 1 year experience, when I have 2 years experience, once I have 5 years experience. Some people already have the 5 years and they're going, okay, when I have 10 years experience, then I will be a specialist, and then I can get the position that I want. And that is not how it works. You don't need to have a set number of years before you become a specialist in something. You just need to know what area you work in, what is your specialty, what is the issue you're passionate about, and what is the value you are providing to this issue. And again, I know that it's actually I make it sound simple when I say it like that. I know it's a big question, right? This is like the meaning of your life. This is your life purpose. This is how you come across as a professional. And when you don't have the experience yet, it can feel like, how on earth am I going to, you know, get that across, or how am I going to get that experience? And this brings us into the other problems that we're always discussing, right? The vicious cycle of needing experience to get experience. I know that these are big problems to tackle, but I'm just trying to put it in the simplest terms possible to explain to you guys. And obviously this is why I spend 8 weeks with my clients getting clear on these specific problems, so that we can have them ready to go, and so that they're able to actually be in a place where they know their value, they know how to describe their value, they are a specialist, they know how to access that hidden job market, right? And then it's not like a quick tip, like just do this, do that, and you're in. So that brings us to our next point, which is the hidden job market. Oh, thanks for all these emojis, guys. That makes it way more exciting for me. So yeah, so the hidden job market. So this brings me to the next point, which is that I see a lot of people sending applications, sending it to unjobs.org. And I know I go on about this a lot, but it's because I used to be that person, and I don't want you guys to be as, I don't want to say I was unintelligent, but I mean, it wasn't maybe my smartest job hunting move. I remember when I was finishing up my degree and I was all motivated. I was so excited to enter the work world, and I saw myself, you know, in those international positions. I knew I was not going to stay in Canada. I was sort of, when I would get a bit more discouraged, I was going, maybe I will have to start building my experience in Canada for a while. Maybe I'll have to move out somewhere, God knows where, and then, you know, work my way up. I had these ideas as well. And in the end, I didn't have to do any of that. I was able to go international pretty much right away, but I wasted so much time sending job applications for positions that I never, ever stood a chance of getting. And I am here to encourage you guys and uphold your dreams and, you know, encourage you. But like I said before, I want to be realistic. Most of those applications are going into a black hole of despair and nowhere. And it's important to know that. I'm not saying that never apply to anything. You can get positions via application sometimes, but know that the odds are very, very slim. And if you're going for those jobs, like those UN jobs, international jobs, know that millions of people are applying to those. I mean, there are millions of people around the world who want those jobs. I don't know the exact numbers of how many are applying to that positions. Hundreds for sure, if not thousands. And it's just too competitive. And a lot of the time, like now that I know from the other side, a lot of the time, like just like with any job, oftentimes, someone who is already within the system is more likely to get those positions. So when you come in as an outsider, trying to be optimistic, trying to say, hey, might as well try, can't hurt, right? Well, it can hurt because it takes a lot of time. Like a lot of people don't even realize how much time they're spending on those applications. We just think, well, doesn't matter how much time, I just have to do it because that's what job hunting is. And we sit down and we apply. But you do need to think about the costs because all the time you're spending applying and not getting what you want, and when it's really going into a black hole, when it's really not going anywhere, is a waste of time. And that means it's moving you away from where you could be, which is being there in the job, getting the experience, which is what you really want. And then you have to think about the costs. There's the time cost, there's the confidence cost, because in the beginning, and again, I'm saying this because I've been there, in the beginning, you're all motivated, you're seeing some jobs, and you're going, oh, that sounds exciting. I think I can see myself in that. Yeah, I'm gonna apply. I know it's a stretch, but I'm gonna apply. Like, I think I might stand a chance. I'll do a really good CV, a really good cover letter, and you're asking everyone, oh, how should I phrase this, you know? And you send it, and then that doesn't go anywhere, but you're waiting, right? Maybe they're gonna get back to you, you never know. And then you send out some more, they still don't get back to you. Finally, the rejections come in, and you're going, okay, just a rejection, that's fine. And this cycle will continue. I mean, I've talked to people who have been doing the same thing for years, and they still haven't made it. And you know, as time goes on, of course, they lose the confidence. I mean, you don't stay in that motivated, enthusiastic, kind of naive energy. You don't stay in that when you get to the end. Usually what happens is people will just keep doing it because they don't know what else to do, and they're not really optimistic anymore, but they just do it anyway, kind of out of habit, and just to make themselves feel like, okay, well, at least I'm trying. I can't say I didn't try. But it's not fair to yourself to do that, because it's expensive in terms of time and money, like all the time that you're not getting paid for when you're doing those applications. And it's expensive in terms of your life experience. Like, you're not living the life you want if you're sitting behind your computer sending applications, as opposed to being in the country you want to be in, doing the work that you want to be doing, making your impact, building your specialization, being around those colleagues and sharing with them. Like, that's the experience you want to get. That's the richness of life. And so if you're not in that, and instead you're doing the applications, you're missing out, right? So you don't want to do that just so you can tell yourself that, hey, at least I tried. You want to actually give yourself a chance, like actually do the things that are going to work. So, any other questions about this? Am I making sense, everyone? What do you think is your biggest challenge in landing those positions? So the ones that I mentioned, right, were the lack of specialization, not knowing that. So for those of you who are still confused about your direction and confused about the kind of professional identity you want to have, what type of positions are right for you, that would be the big #1 thing that you need to get clear on, is what is your specialization as a professional. And that is something you figure out before you try to build your years of experience, not after. And again, I'm saying this again and again because this is something that is really contrary to how we're usually taught. You don't get your experience and then figure out your specialization. You can already start. Yes, your specialization can change over time. I'm not saying you set things in stone and then things are decided for life. However, you can build your specialization as you go along. So you can actually set that ahead of time and then build your experience within that, as opposed to spending your time and then thinking that there's going to be a specialization at the end of X number of years. That doesn't happen. And then the second thing is knowing your value, and knowing not just what you think is valuable, because what I see all the time is that what people think is valuable, that, you know, they think it's their language skills, they think it's that they love traveling and that kind of thing. Or even, like, I've talked to people who say, I got great marks in university, I was top of my class. Again, that is not your value. I'm not trying to be mean here, but nobody's gonna care about that. So Levon, nice to see you here. Let me know if you have any questions. So we're just talking about knowing your value, and you need to know not just what you think is valuable about yourself, but what other people within that industry, right, within the UN or within the organization you're trying to get into, what they're going to see as valuable about you. And a lot of people go, well, nothing is valuable about me. I'm just starting off. I don't have the experience. Well, I am sure if you are able to do the job, which a lot of you guys know that you are, you know that if you're in that position, you're going to rise to the challenge, you're going to figure it out, you're going to do a great job. That means you do have value. We just need to get clear on how you're going to show that value, because it's not coming across. And I know that this is a really hard thing to do, but we love hard things, and this is one of my favorite hard things to help you guys solve. But I know it is difficult. I'm not trying to say it's so easy to be someone on the outside without the contacts, without the experience, and all you need to do is show your value and everything's fixed. No, it's I mean, it's a huge life problem. That's why so many people are not able to do that. But it's a great problem to fix. It'll change your life. It'll change all of your opportunities. And so this is one of my favorite problems to work on with you guys so that we can solve it, so that you can now have value in the marketplace, in the UN, in the organizations that you want to work for. And now you start getting noticed. Now you can start getting hired. So the next point, which I already mentioned, is the access to the hidden job market. So once you know your value, you know how to come across, you know what your specialization is, you have got to be accessing the hidden job market so that you're not sending out those applications. And some of you guys might be familiar with some of the hiring processes within the UN. So for example, the YPP exam. Does that ring any bells? Any of you guys written the YPP exam? That's the Young Professionals Program. It's one of the ways that I believe you have to write it when you're under 30 to get in. For those of you who have written it, let me know. What is the age? I think it's under 30. I have written this exam. I got passed. I think it was the first round. Like, you send your application, you need to be under a certain age, you need to be from certain countries. Like every year, I think there are specific. How often is the exam? I haven't written this in so long. For those of you who are more in the know, let me know. I kind of forgot about this exam a while ago because I gave up on it. But a few years ago, before I got into the UN, I remember I was trying everything, and I applied for the YPP because my country was within the list of countries that can apply. I think it's every 4 years you can write it. Anyway, so I got past the first round, which is apparently a really big feat because, again, it's so competitive. So I got past the first round, which I was pretty amazed at. And then I got invited to the written examination. And, oh, I remember now. By that time, I think the first time I applied to the YPP exam, I didn't even pass the first round. And then the second time, I actually made it to the written exam. And by that time, I was already working for the UN, but I thought, hey, let's do this, let's try it. And so I went to the written exam, and even though I was already working for the UN, I didn't make it past that written exam. And I thought I did pretty okay. So I just want you guys to know that being really intelligent or being really good at writing these exams is not really the fastest way to get somewhere. And this is kind of a problem in our schooling system, I believe, that we are taught that the better the mark you get, the further you're gonna go in life. And yet I talk to so many people who are very, very book smart. They get great marks on their exams. And yet in terms of like life intelligence, they don't take intelligent action. Like, intelligent action isn't spending your life in the book studying for these entrance exams in the hopes. I've met people who have spent years, even decades, studying and writing for these entrance exams. And that's where I realized, if I want to work full time and then come home every single evening for months, if not years, just to study for these, just to study for these entrance exams, maybe I would stand a chance. But is that really the best return on investment of my time? I mean, there's dedication, and then there's just, maybe stupidity is not a nice word to use, but you guys know what I'm saying, right? Like, it's not smart to spend your life studying and studying and studying for these entrance level exams to hopefully maybe one day have them choose you. That's putting yourself into that desperation mode, not into that specialist mode. So I think when I realized how hard that path was gonna be, and I realized, like, I am not some special snowflake. I mean, I think I'm intelligent enough, but I'm not a kind of genius. Like, I don't have a genius IQ. I don't have, some special connections. I am not some UN special snowflake. And it was like, I'm gonna need, if I'm serious about this, I'm gonna need a better way. I'm gonna need more of like a direct approach. I'm gonna need to get valued for something beyond that. Yeah, I can't just sit here and write those entrance exams because the odds are so slim. And it's not worth it. Like, I want to be out there living my life, right? And for me, my idea of living my life was working internationally, being in the field, being around those people, all of those things, not competing for those things while I wait for years of my life to go by. And a lot of people were telling me, and maybe you guys are hearing this as well. I don't know how old you are, but hey, Anita, let us know if you have questions. We're talking about how to get into the UN. Yeah, so a lot of people are being told, don't worry, it'll happen eventually. Like, persistence is key. Keep on going, and just as long as you try, just try your best. But you need to make a decision, like, is that how you want to live your life? Trying, and as long as you tried, then that's fine. Because a lot of people feel like they're trying, but they're not actually trying. So coming home every night and studying for the YPP exam in hopes you're going to get in is not, it's trying, but it's not really trying, right? It's like trying within the box. You guys need to get out of the box. And, you know, we're always talking about boxes and not just doing the kind of old way of job hunting, which has been ingrained in us. And a lot of people are just going through the motions, doing the old way of job hunting, which does not apply anymore. And oftentimes our teachers, our parents, even our own bosses are still teaching us that this is the way to go, because it's not because they're bad people or because they don't get things. It's just that they, like, times are changing so quickly that for them, it literally was, you know, maybe that is how they got their job, and for them it was fine. But for us, we need to be less in the box than that. Like, there's no longer such a thing as go to the best university possible, graduate, do really well on some entrance exam, get into some graduate scheme. Like, the YPP is almost a version of a graduate scheme, right? Get in and then work your way up. I'm not saying that some people don't do that. That can still happen. But if you're depending on that as a strategy, you are in for a lot of wasted years of your life. Like, you need to start getting that experience, starting to live your life now. And then if meanwhile, you miraculously pass this YPP examination and you get in like that, great. But you don't want to depend on that as a strategy. Like, use the strategies that are directly applicable to you and that are the fastest possible, which means accessing the hidden job market. So you want to get access to all the positions that are not being posted online. For me, some of my positions were posted online, but even those, I generally got them through the hidden job market, and a lot of my positions were not posted online. Or I've had positions that were posted for me, but they already knew basically that I was going to get the job, right? So that can be annoying when you're on the other side of it. But this is just why I keep saying, like, for any job, you need to know people. You need to be in the hidden job market. You need to know what the opportunities are, and you need to be known as a specialist so that you get hired. And that is how it works. And so you guys need to forge your way within the circles that you want to be in, and you want to be known as a specialist. Your personal branding needs to be out there. People have to know you. People have to love you. They have to love your work. They need to have heard of your work. They need to be excited to hire you, as opposed to you being excited to work for them and competing against everyone else. But you should be excited to work for them, obviously, but they also need to be excited to work with you. You don't want to be in the position of choose me, please, I'll do anything. No, you are a specialist. You will, with lots of enthusiasm, do your specialist work, and you want other people to be coming to you and offering you those opportunities. So I'm not seeing any other questions for now. So I guess I will leave it at that for today. But if you're watching the replay, then type in your questions. Let us know, what have you tried? What type of UN position do you want? Why is that important to you? Why do you feel passionate about it? And just as the final parting message for you guys is, if you want to work for the UN or anywhere else that you feel is some big dream and you would love to do it, but you know it's competitive and you have those doubts, I want you to know that your dreams are possible, and you want to be really careful about what people out there are telling you, because some people are going to discourage you just because they weren't able to do it or it was tough for them or whatever. Everyone has their own story. And then some people are going to encourage you, but in a way that's not realistic. And they're going to tell you, just keep trying, or, oh, you're a special snowflake, you'll definitely get in. Who else has a Harvard degree? Lots of people do, and lots of people don't get the positions. So I want you guys to dedicate yourselves to that dream, know that it's possible, be empowered towards it, and be realistic, and know what you need to do, know how to position yourself in the most effective, most efficient way possible so you can actually attain it. So the moral of the story is, yes, go for those high-level positions, those international positions that everyone else wants. Don't stop yourself. Never say, oh, maybe it's not for me. I'll just let someone else get it because I guess my IQ is not high enough to pass the YPP. Like, don't tell yourselves that. If you have a mission, if you have an impact you want to make, you're enthusiastic about it, you know you're going to do the very best you possibly can in those roles, and you know you're going to change the world once you get those opportunities. Do not get discouraged and give up on those things just because you go, oh, well, I guess they're not going to choose me. No, you need to go for your dreams. However, make sure that you're not just going through the motions and doing what most people do. Because there is a reason most people never make it to their dream jobs. And that is because they're following the status quo. They're doing what society tells them to do. They're doing what some of their elders have told them to do, you know, their teachers, their parents, the people around them, where maybe the world was a little bit different for them. Or maybe those people also haven't attained the kind of roles that you want. I mean, I know that the people I grew up with didn't have the same objectives I did. And so at a certain point, like if I kept listening to their advice, it wasn't that they didn't want to help me. I mean, they were trying to help me, but they just didn't know how to help me with my particular goals. They worked in a totally different world and they had totally different goals than I did. So you have to find the people who can help you with your specific goals and listen to the right people and get the right approaches, which are not going to be the usual approaches that everyone else is using, because there's a reason that they don't work for the masses. So be empowered, get to where you want to go, but also be very realistic and very action-oriented and get the right processes in place so that your actions actually bring you somewhere versus the kind of repetitive stuff that makes you feel busy but doesn't actually give you that forward momentum. So that is my message for you today. So nice to see you guys. If you have more questions about this or any other type of, or getting into any other type of organization or figuring out your purpose, let me know. And for those of you who are ready to move forward with your goals, so whether you're going, oh, I've been wanting to work for the UN, I'm not getting the results. I'm one of those people like I used to be, sending out those applications, not getting anywhere. I don't understand how to get onto that other side of the wall. Then we need to get you unstuck. So book a career roadmap session with my team, and we will look specifically at what your goals are. We'll let you know if they're realistic, and then we will look together at what are those specific roadblocks that are stopping you from actually making them happen, so that you can have an actual plan of action, so that you're not just following what feels like a plan, but is actually just the same busy work that everyone else is doing, where you're still in the masses, in the competition, one of those people applying to unjobs.org, or one of those people on LinkedIn who's just trying to network and trying to apply. No, we want to get you guys your own personalized plan so that you can be your own specialist, so that you can start being someone who magnetizes opportunities, not just that next thing, that next foot in the door, but for the rest of your life. The sooner you can become a specialist, the more opportunities you're going to get throughout your lifetime, the more you're going to build, and the more of everything, the more money you're going to make over your lifetime. You're going to be able to actually have a retirement. You're going to be able to invest for the future. You're going to have that financial stability, pay off your student loans. You're going to be rich in experiences. You'll be able to stop, working towards that one day when I finally attain whatever. You can start attaining those things now, and then having more and more and more experiences, so that your whole life will be filled with all the amazing experiences that are on your bucket list, versus spending your whole life in that striving mode, thinking that one day I'll get there. And as we all know, sometimes it never happens. Or if it does happen, if it took you 20 years to get there, and those whole 20 years were spent in like application mode and trying to get experience mode, that's 20 wasted years. You want to be spending those 20 years in the life that you want while you build towards the next step and the next step and the next step. So I hope all of that makes sense. I don't want you guys to keep doing the things that are not working. There's no point in wasting your time there. I want all of you guys to be on your own path. And I know that sometimes it sounds a little bit abstract. That is because everyone needs a slightly different approach, because you need to be a specialist, and that means your approach is going to be a little bit different from the next person. And that's the whole point. You don't want to be taking the exact same approach as everyone else, because that means you're stuck in the competition. So I want you guys to have the step-by-step process where you know your value, you know your specialization, you know how to access the hidden job market, and then that is how, when you have those key pieces and you understand the nuances within them, as well as the system that you are aiming to enter and that whole culture, that is how you're going to start getting those opportunities. All right, guys, leave me your questions. And for those of you who want to get started on that, who are tired of applying, who are tired of not being where you want to be, then book a career roadmap session. The link for that is accelerateYourAmbitions.com/apply. That takes you directly to my team's calendar. So when you get to that calendar, you're going to see some time slots available. Pick whatever time slot is the best for you. Grab them quick, because I just opened a couple for the next few days, but I am not sure how long those will stay there, because I think some just got booked up. So if you see a slot, grab the slot. If ever there are no slots left, send me an email, let me know, and I'll try to let you know like next time we have available positions. When you have that slot, you're gonna have an application form. Fill out the form, let us know who you are, what your objectives are, what your issues are, so that we can get the most of our time on that call. And then when we're on that call, we're really, really gonna dive into where you wanna go and what is stopping you. Like, what is the part of your plan that is too similar to what the competition is doing? And what are the specific pieces there that you're gonna need to shift so that you can get yourself out of that struggle mode and out of the, the head in the sand mode, and really into the path that's going to serve you, that's gonna get you towards your goal. And then we'll check if with those specific problems, if we can help you with them, then we'll invite you into the program where we help you personally to actually achieve them. And we show you how to solve those problems, how to identify your specialization, how to identify that, how to enter the hidden job market so you can position yourself towards the positions that you want, so that you guys can be one of these young professionals who is just like living their dream lives now and not waiting until they have some magical number of years of experience. There is no magical number, by the way, guys. You can easily go your whole life trying to build experience and still not get to where you want to go. You guys want to be living your life right now, not later. There's nothing wrong with your age right now. You're not too young to get to where you want to go. Don't let anyone tell you that. I'm not saying that when you're older, you won't be wiser. Yes, you'll keep getting wiser and wiser and wiser, but you can still be where you want to be right now, not 10 years from now. So for those of you who don't want to wait around anymore, who want to be a young and fulfilled professional, living their international lifestyle, making their impact right away, there is no reason that you need to wait. So hopefully you guys grabbed a roadmap session if you wanted one. If not, send me an email. I'll let you know if we have some that open up. And as always, lovely seeing you. Feel free to add any questions if you're watching the replay. And I'll catch you on our next live. Let me know what you guys want to talk about next. All right, take care, everyone.